In this video, we're going to add to our set inch template file. We're mainly going to add layers. So before we begin, open your set inch template file and let's check some of the parameters. So I'm going to type units. Make sure my units are okay. So my decimals should be 2 for the length and 0 for the angle. Should be in inches, so that's good. So we're all good there. And let's check the limits, which is the paper size. Should be 0, 0 in the lower left and 11 by 8.5 in the upper right. And let's check the style. So the text should be Arial, 1/8 of an inch, and annotative. So all of that looks good. Alright, so the next thing we're going to add to the template file is layers. Now layers can be thought of as transparencies laid one on top of the other. So you can see through the layers, and each layer is going to contain its own line type. So if you want to draw a visible line, you'll use one layer. If you want to draw a hidden line, you'll use a different layer. If you want to draw a center line, you'll use a different layer. And layers allow you to change the line type, the color, the line thickness when it's printed. So it's a nice way to organize all your line types. Alright, so we're going to start by creating some layers. So here in the Home tab, you'll see a Layers panel, and we're going to go into the Layers Property window. Alright, so we have a lot of things, and it's probably kind of smushed, so I'm going to pull it out so we can see what all of these things are. Alright, so we are given one default layer. And what we're going to do is create another layer. So we're going to create a new one. And we're going to do that by selecting this icon right here, which is New Layer. And we're going to name it Hidden. Now the reason I'm starting with hidden is because it has a different line type that we need to choose. So that's why I'm starting with hidden. Alright, the hidden layer, I'm going to give a color, just so we can see, you know, the hidden lines more than just a change in a line type. We can see it color. You can choose whatever color you want, but if you use my colors, then it'll be easier as we go forward. But once you learn layers and learn what we're doing with the layers, feel free to choose whatever color you like. Alright, I'm going to choose this little square, black square, and change the color. I'm going to choose blue and go OK. And then I'm going to click on the line type associated with the hidden layer. And you can see the only line type that's defined so far is continuous. So I'm going to load another line type. So I'm going to click on Load. I'm going to scroll down until I see the hidden line type. There we go, hidden. So I'm going to load that one up and then select it and go OK. So now the hidden layer is blue and has a line type of hidden. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create a bunch more layers. And in the book, it shows you all the properties of all the layers that you're going to need to construct a technical drawing. So I'm going to go through these fairly fast. So new layer. The next one's going to be visible. The color is going to be red, and the line type will be continuous. Then we want a center layer. Line type will be black. And the line type is going to be center. So we need to load it in and choose it. Next is going to be dimension. Black and white are the same, so you'll see white there, but it's really black. And then the line type is continuous, so we need to choose that. Next layer is cutting. This is for our cutting plane. Later on, we'll learn about section views. So this will be for the cutting plane line. We're going to make that magenta and load in the phantom line type. Phantom. And it's okay if you don't know what that is at the moment. Next layer is our construction layer. We're going to just use this one to help us construct our drawings. It's not going to be part of our drawing. We're going to make this one green. And the line type is continuous. And the last layer is going to be our viewport layer. And we'll make that one yellow. And the line type is continuous. So a viewport is going to help us with our printing and our layout. So we'll get into that later on in this chapter. Alright, so these are all the layers that we'll need to construct a technical drawing. Alright, so I'm going to close this down, and you're going to save this in your template file, so just hit save. So now you'll never have to create those layers again. They'll be there for you anytime you want to do a technical drawing. Alright, so now we're going to start drawing some things so that you can play around with it. And so we want to save it as a different file name. So we're going to save it as layer tutorial. Alright, so pick a drawing file and layer tutorial. Alright, so we're going to draw some lines on the different layers. So go up to the layer panel and select this pull down menu and select the visible layer. So now anything we draw is going to be on the visible layer. And we're going to draw a line. Just anywhere. You can, just draw a few lines. Doesn't matter where. So you can see that they're red. Right? We said that everything on the visible layer should be red. Alright, well let's switch it to the hidden layer. And draw some lines. Alright, so it's working. Right, everything on the hidden layer should be blue, and the line type should be hidden. So that's good. We'll draw a few more lines on the different layers. So let's do center, because that has an interesting line type. So there's some center lines. And let's do a cutting plane so that you know what that looks like. Alright, so you've probably noticed that on all of these lines, the dashes are really big. And sometimes you don't want them that big. We can change that. We can change that by messing around with what's called the line type scale. So we can type LT scale and we can adjust that. I find that the value of 1 rarely ever works for me. So let's change that to 0.25 and see what we get. So now the dashes are really small, right? So this line type scale changes the dashes to small or big depending on the value you put in. And your drawing will dictate what scale you need, right? You always want a break in your center lines, and you always want at least like 2, maybe 3 dashes in the hidden line. So mess around with your LT scale to make that happen in your drawing. All right, so I'm going to hit the space bar and change it to 0.5. And you can see what happens there. So you can mess around with that. Like I said, the drawing really dictates what scale you put it at. But I find 0.5 works for most of the drawings that I do. All right, well, let's say that you're happy with the line type scale for pretty much all your lines, except there's one really small circle that has a center line in it that you need to have a smaller dash in. Well, no problem. You can click on that one and get into its properties. So we'll go to the view and get into the properties palette. And there is a line type scale in this. Let me pull it out so you can see it. Line type scale. And you can adjust that relative to everything else. So you can see right now it's 1, but the overall global line type scale is 0.5. So whatever you put in here, it's going to adjust it relative to that 0.5. So let's put 0.5. So you can see it only adjusted this selected center line. So now this line type scale is really 0.25 and everything else is 0.5. All right, so let's do a little bonus stuff. Now let's get back into the layers property. And you'll notice that we have these little columns, on and off, freeze. Sometimes you want to turn a layer off. So let's say that I turn my visible layer off. So if I turn my visible layer off, those lines go away and I can't see them. This is what we're going to be doing with our construction layer. So our construction layer we use to just help us draw. But in the end product, we don't want it on, right? We don't want to see it. So when we're done drawing, we'll just go in here and turn the construction layer off. So that's a good feature. Sometimes you want to see the line, but you don't want to be able to select the line. So you'll lock it. So now the visible layer is locked and I can't do anything with it. Like I can't delete it. I'm hitting the delete key and it won't let me do anything with it. All right, so that is a little introduction to layers. So make sure you go into your set MM template and create these same layers and save it. So now you'll have an inch template and a metric template that has these layers.